instructions of the President of the Republic. A quick look at the dailies this morning on the Sunday Standard. What really happened at Bomas? What really happened at Bomas? Beneath the facade of melodious tunes belted out by the choirs at Bomas, a series of deadly assaults, abductions, intimidation, break-ins and stakeouts were happening in the background. A very good read there. And also on the front page of the Standard, the Sunday Standard, the inner circle, movers and shakers in the new administration. It's part of the stories that we'll be looking at today on Inside Politics. On the Sunday Nation, dead camel meat for starving village. That's a big headline on the front page. And also at the top there, in Ruto's State House, it's business unusual. Just signifying the kind of changes that have happened since the new regime took over. Now, let's kick off the story. The infighting and jostling for leadership positions in the 13th Parliament, pitting the old guards and young tax in one of the oldest political parties in the country. That's the Orange Democratic Party, ODM, is now threatening its unity. While the young legislators have vowed to lead a revolution in the party and demand their rightful share, the old guards seem to be sticking to the status quo on grounds of experience. And as our senior political affairs reporter Chris Dairu reports, party leader Raila Odinga has already called for a crisis meeting on Monday to deliberate on the current wrangles before Parliament commences its legislative agenda later this week.
Having been in existence for at least 18 years and participated in 4 general elections, the Orange Democratic Party, ODM, is arguably one of the oldest political party after KANU since independence. However, going by the leadership of the party, nothing much has changed as majority of the initial party leadership continue to hold various positions. And now, there is a growing infighting between the old guards and the young tax as they differ on how to share the limited leadership positions in the 13th Parliament, given that they are in the opposition. For instance, in the National Assembly, Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, who is serving his second term as MP, is leading the revolt against old guards. The target being nominated MP John Badi, who is also a former minority leader in the National Assembly and now serving his 4th term as an MP, and Uguja MP Opio Wandai, who is former PAC chairman and also serving his 4th term.
I was fronted to be the PAC chairman, Public Accounts Committee chairman, by my fellow members of Parliament. Then the party agreed about this position. Then yesterday, I was called and told to leave this position, leave it to Honorable Mbadi, who is the party chairman. Mheshimiwa Mbadi is already a party chairman for ODM. In addition to that, he was nominated. And again, we want to add him the PAC chairman.
My understanding is that if you are made the chairman of a party, you must have emotional maturity. My understanding is that when you are made the chair of the party, there are certain things that you may take which others may not take.
The 4th-term MP has been promised to chair the Parliamentary Accounts Committee in the National Assembly after the position of minority leader, which he was eyeing, was awarded to Opio Wandai.
Give the youth what belongs to the youth and give the elderly what belongs to the elderly.
Who are these young tax? You know, some of these people who claim to be young are not even young in the first place.
In the Senate, things are not any different as young legislators raise the same concerns.
We have now decided that the time is now for us to speak to our party and beseech our party to be able to reconsider the decisions that they are making now, because those decisions will cost the party.
Narok Senator Ledamo Lekina, who has been eyeing the minority leader position, went on his Twitter handle in support of Babu's sentiments. His Kilifi counterpart Stewards Mazayo, who is now serving his 3rd term, was shortlisted to serve as the minority leader, a position that Ledamo Lekina was eyeing.
I want to be very cantankerous and to be very candid that if the party does not reconsider this, then we'll be able to go around the country and talk to the youth and be able to chart our future.
If we will not be rewarded as the youth in ODM, then we will reward ourselves.
Other young ODM legislators who felt shortchanged include Butere MP Tindi Mwale, Sabuti MP Caleb Amisi, and a good number of first-term MPs.
I'd hoped that I can be a whip of Azimio, but in their own wisdom, the Baba and Kalonzo, they made up their mind that Junet can serve us better.
Some of the long-serving members in the leadership of the party include the party leader himself, Raila Odinga, immediate former Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya, as well as former Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho. Others who have held positions for long and continue to benefit thanks to ODM party include Kisumu Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, who was once party Secretary General, and his Siaya counterpart James Orengo. Party leader Raila Odinga is expected to chair parliamentary group meeting on Monday in a bid to quell the growing rift, which might affect their delivery as the opposition when parliament commences their legislative business. Chris Dairu, KTN News, Nairobi.
Implosion within ODM. Disunity and defections could snuff out life from the opposition. I'm just reading some of the stories inside the Sunday Standard. The face of Kenya's opposition is hazy and factitious as the 26 political parties that form the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party. This is where I want to begin our conversation this morning. What's happening to ODM with the jostling for positions, especially within Parliament, the position of party leader or coalition leader, who will lead the party or coalition going forward. Remember, within the Azimio formation, ODM is the biggest party in terms of numbers. And so it plays a big brother role even within the coalition. And if at all there's disunity within ODM, then it means it does not portend good things for the entire coalition. But I'm privileged to have in studio with me Dismas Mokua, political risk analyst, and Hesbon Owila, a communication strategist. Good morning, gentlemen. Karibuni sana.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, ODM has lost so many elections in the past, especially at the presidential level. It has never been this bad before. This time round, it appears that this loss could just destroy the party. Dismas.
Well, I think the buck will stop with Mr. Raila Odinga, because there's a thin line between ODM and Mr. Raila Odinga, because Mr. Raila Odinga is the one who is holding the institution together. You remember when ODM was started off as a movement around the constitution, there were so many powerful leaders, but all of them have made an exit, starting with President Kenyatta, retired President Kenyatta, President Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi. In fact, ODM is like a political school, that if you want to hone your political skills, that's where you go and acquire the knowledge. But the catfights within ODM were expected, given the fact that ODM has, or rather Azimio did not win the presidential election, because majority of the people supported Raila Odinga had this valid expectation that if Raila Odinga becomes the president, then he's going to share out the cake. But since he did not win, now the leadership positions that are available within the National Assembly is actually 4, and as well as the Senate. So he has only 8 seats that he can give out, and they're not limited to ODM. He has to share with the other coalition members. So that is why there is an infight. And it seems to me that the people within Azimio have now come to terms with the fact that Dr. Ruto is going to be president for the next 5 or 10 years. Now let them fight for those positions. The MP for Embakasi, Honorable Babu Wina, has indicated that he was promised a particular seat, and then Ledama over here is making some demands. And that points to one direction, that Mr. Raila Odinga is very, very powerful, and ODM is a very powerful party, so that everybody wants to have a chance to lead ODM. Because if ODM was really bleeding and it was going to collapse, then you would see people running away helter-skelter. But they understand that ODM is a very powerful party. And in my view, what Mr. Raila Odinga must do as a matter of urgency is do 2 things. Ask himself whether he really wants to remain at the top of ODM in a very active position, and then call for a national-wide election, so that some of the people who are claiming that they are very powerful and influential within ODM, they can go and face the party members, and the party members will take a decision. Because a number of them here are issuing threats to Raila Odinga. Like, for instance, the Narok senator is saying that if he doesn't get this position, he's going to do a countrywide campaign to say that the youth within ODM I've been frustrated. And when you look at him critically, it does not fit the description of a youth. It doesn't fit the description of a youth. So in my view, what Raila Odinga must do is call that national election. Then number two, he needs to have a conference of the political party. Like, for instance, what is obtaining in the UK today, the Labour Party is having a conference where the party is identifying positions on issues of national interest. The ODM has never ever had a serious conference that would run maybe for 3 days, 5 days, where members will come and develop positions on pertinent issues. Like, for instance, what is the ODM position on global warming, on tax, on international relations? They need to sit down. Then, having agreed on that, they come up with a strategic plan. Where is the party supposed to go? Now, if they don't do that, then there's going to be a crisis. And you realize, even when they were naming the leadership, both of the National Assembly and Senate, for some reason, a number of members were complaining that the sharpest tools in the shed have not been considered. That Mr. Raila Odinga may have rewarded people who are loyal to him, but who are not necessarily very sharp to take the party to the next level. So another thing that Raila Odinga must do is have a succession plan so that top talent can get a position at leadership.
And shortly we'll be looking at some of the names being touted there: Opio Wandai, John Badi, even the likes of Ledamo Lekina and Babu Wino, just to see their gravitas and if at all they have what it takes to actually take the party forward. But talking of this party, Hezbollah, we've talked a lot about the position of parties. You made the example of the UK, where the Labour Party, the Conservative, these are very strong parties. You look at ANC, even Chama cha Mapinduzi right next door, these are very strong parties. But when it comes to Kenya, it would appear that an election loss, one election loss is enough to kill a party. We've seen that. We've seen that with PNU. We've seen not necessarily an election loss, but the exit of the party leader means the death of that party. Are we seeing the same this time around with ODM?
Well, yeah, I think we've seen the death of so many, coalitions. PNU died. I think NAC died. We've also seen the death of so many political parties. But I think post 2002, the only party that has demonstrated the ability to endure is actually ODM, and I think that's why this is big news, because from 2005, I think ODM has successively demonstrated the ability to be a going concern. And I want to associate myself with what Dismas has said, that to a large extent, I think the cake was going to be slightly bigger if they had won the election. They didn't win. So, that arm of the executive that would have accommodated some of these leaders who are making noise.
But isn't it part of the political strategy?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That you plan for a possible win.
Yes.
And yes, in the instance that you lose the election, you still get to survive.
I guess, you see, even when you plan, for a loss, it doesn't mean that there won't be mutiny. Because what we are seeing here are individuals who are saying that we were promised this position. But then there are individuals who are promised probably bigger position, either in the executive or in the event that they won power, which they didn't. And you expect this. Even Jubilee, when Jubilee won the second term, we remember what happened in the legislative arm of the government. I mean, I remember guys like Honorable Turen made a lot of noise because they were elected by members of parliament to be in certain positions, which was not the party position. So this is jostling that is probably, going to be there with any political party, whether they win or lose an election. But I think the most critical thing here is the question of how does Raila Odinga then steer ODM in the right direction? Because to some large extent, people are looking at this as, an emergent group of leaders, Senator Ledamo Lekina, Babu Wino, who've demonstrated, serious loyalty to the party, and therefore, given the political campaign that we saw and how they actively involve themselves, you'd expect that they were looking at, successively moving to, more prominent roles. But you see, that's a very critical question to ask yourself, because, your capacity and prowess during an electioneering period and what happens when you win power or even lose power are totally different. And I think I've talked about this way before, that a political party is in the business of winning power. And winning power is very critical for what you want to do after winning that power. And it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are very active, agile, and you contribute robustly in winning that power, then you'll be given certain positions. Because then, after winning power, after getting to a position where you have a threshold, the next thing is delivering on the people. So there's a question of to what extent did some of these guys contribute, and then to what extent do they have the capacity now to deliver? Okay. As that arm of the government that will help oversight or provide alternative leadership. And I think, what leaders don't understand is that, political parties, after getting in the post-election era, have a mandate to deliver for the people. It is no longer a campaign. So you may want to look at Ledama Olekina, at what point was he championing for the youth? Was it during the campaign period? Was it when he was fighting Chebukati? Was it everything that he did before the election? And does that equate to having the capacity to deliver post-election? And it's the same with Babu Owino. And I think to a large extent, these are very promising politicians, but there are certain things that they've done that you may want to ask yourself, does a political party want to go forward with the kind of, character attributes that these politicians have? And it's the same thing that Kenya Kwanza will have, that they have enough people who contributed to the win that they enjoyed right now.
We'll talk about the other side of the coin after the break, because we'll be looking at Ruto's headache, because now he's the direct opposite. But coming back to this ODM issue, because in all, it looks evident that it's a party in transition, that they're looking at probable succession, new leadership. This is a party that has been dependent since, I think, 2005, 2006 on the party leader Raila Odinga. Are we now dangling with the idea that yes, probably it is time that Raila is exiting the scene, and therefore these young people are eager to replace him? Because we've seen quite a number of leaders who have come through ODM and have exited, or at least transited to something else, the likes of James Orengo, Peter Anyang' Nyong'o, who have moved on to become governors. They're not really involved a lot in party politics. We are seeing the younger guys involved here. But the party chairperson is a nominated member now, is not an elected member into parliament.
That's what we indicated, that one of the things that Mr. Raila Odinga must do is allow democracy to thrive within ODM. If there are party elections, then nobody would be saying that Mr. John Mbadi is an appointed chairman. He would actually claim that we had a meeting at Kasarani or Bomas, and the delegates voted for me. But there is a phobia of Mr. Raila Odinga having an election, because it means that a number of people may be elected into office who may not necessarily be loyal to him. Because when he appoints you, he has got capacity again to fire you, then you are 100% loyal. Then number two, Mr. Raila Odinga must ask himself, how come top talent keeps coming to ODM and moving away? Because one of the key functions of any human resource or human capital manager is attract, retain, and reward top talent. Every single powerful politician in Kenya today has gone through ODM. President Kenyatta, President Ruto, Musalia Mudavadi, Wetangula, all these people have been associated with ODM. Even Jimmy Wanjigi has been associated with ODM. So Raila Odinga must ask himself again, how come when you have top talent within ODM, they do not stay for long? And the reason why these young members of the National Assembly and Senate have the guts and have got the alacrity to start questioning Mr. Raila Odinga's decision is because they've looked at the horizon and they've said his influence as a political leader is coming to an end. That he has lost his capacity right now to instill pain and pleasure. You recall a few days ago, Mr. Raila Odinga, the enigma of Kenyan politics, went to Kisumu to influence the election of the county assembly speaker. We are talking about somebody, if his ducks were in a neat row, he would have become the president of the Republic of Kenya. But he can't make a call to the MCAs. He has to go and have a word with them. The only reason why those MPs now can dare question the decision-making capacity of Raila Odinga is they've seen that when it comes to 2027, most likely it will not influence the election outcome. How do you have a second-term senator telling Mr. Raila Odinga that if I don't get this position at the Senate, I'm going to organize countrywide tours to run you out of town?
Wants to interject on this just before we go on a break.
You see, Raila is a national leader, so when you reduce Raila to conversations around going to influence MCAs, I think you're missing the point. He has everything within himself to address any county assembly and give them a roadmap on what is good for the country. And that does not amount to influence. I'm not so sure there is evidence anywhere where he told Kisumu County Assembly MCAs on who to elect. And you see, the dynamics of counties are very unique. And Kisumu is one very unique county. It transcends political loyalty to issues of clan and all that, you know. But to a large extent, yeah, I would agree with Dismas that there are people who are beginning to think that they can question Raila's decision making. But I don't think that is the reality. These people are not questioning because they understand that most of them actually won some of these positions because of their affiliation to Raila Odinga. But they are trying to exercise, their weight in the political terrain. I can guarantee you that if Senator Ledama Olekina took his threat to the streets, I think he will meet the full force of not Raila, but Raila supporters. You know, this youth that they are talking about, these are people they have access to because of Raila Odinga.
Okay.
And the moment they start challenging Raila Odinga, I think even the same people that they think they represent will be against them. And by the way, if you look at the conversations going on the digital streets, people are asking him, so do you want to be rewarded for the chaos you caused at Bomas of Kenya? Or what exactly were you championing around the youth issues?
Hold that thought, because we will continue with this conversation after the break, at least briefly, so that you can make a prediction about the future of the party. It was the biggest party up until UDA came along. And so we still want to look at ODM's future, even as we look at President William Ruto's headache with so many tens of loyalists just waiting in the wings for political appointments to big government positions, and how that is going for Kenya Kwanza and the president. But that after the break. You're watching Inside Politics.